What happened that caused you to move from cynic to really investigate the claims of Christ?
Okay, so what happened for me was my wife and I were together 18 years, and she was somebody who was raised kind of like as a cultural Catholic, but really never attended church. And when we started having kids, she's like, hey, we should probably go to church once in a while. So once in a while, she would drag me to church. About once or twice a year, but not every year. So I managed to get out of it a lot of times. And she respected my position on this, and she really had no idea what Christianity was about anyway. And it was always a Catholic mass. She didn't know anything other than Catholicism. So I was 35, and I had been at the same house for about 3 years, and we had not gone to church in those 3 years, so I had been very skilled for those 3 years and avoided church. And she said, hey, we can go to church tomorrow if you want. I'm like, I would be more than happy to go to church for my wife as a non-believer, because my dad has been doing that for his entire life. He goes to Mormon wards. Do you know how long the service is at a Mormon ward? It's long. And he goes to those. He's an atheist. And by the way, if you're going to church right now as an atheist with your kids, you're doing a great job of teaching them how to go to church as an atheist with their kids. That's exactly what I was doing. So I decided to go, and there's this huge mega church in California. Huge. And she said, well, I thought we'd go to the Catholic church. There's a Catholic church around the corner. I said, we can go to St. Killian's. Well, no, Bill's been asking us to go to this church. I don't want to go to that. It's like a circus. But we went. And the pastor there, he really is good at this one thing. He's good at a lot of things, but this one thing he's really good at pitching Jesus in a way that atheists can catch him. Basically, just Jesus guy, hey, he's really smart. I don't know what you think about Jesus, but I can tell you this, he's really smart. He's got good advice. You might want to listen to what he has to say. As an ancient sage, you won't find anybody better than Jesus. You know, Buddha, I don't care who you're talking about, Baha'u'llah, whoever it is, Jesus has got his chops. You should go check him out because he's got some things to say. Well, that intrigued me. Okay, so I bought a Bible only because I wanted to mine out the proverbial wisdom of Jesus, the red letters of Jesus. Let's see what he has to say. I am not at all interested in any silliness about miracles at all. But I do want to say, well, look, if this is time-tested, vetted wisdom that we built a culture on, it probably stood the test of time. It might be worth my attention. So I bought the Bible. I think I spent $6. It was a pew Bible. You probably have those in this church. It had really tiny margins. But I bought that Bible, and I ripped through it all, and I right away became very... I wasn't trying to prove it was wrong. I wasn't trying to prove it was right. I just wanted to mine out the red letters. Just see if there's anything I could actually, I, by the way, have read all the writings of Baha'u'llah, the Baha'i faith. There's lots of this kind of stuff that I would read and reject it as divine. Just some interesting stuff. Well, I did that, and the problem, of course, with the Gospels is that those red letters are embedded in a historical narrative. And then I'm reading them and going, that thing right there, that is a lot like an eyewitness account. That thing right there resembles some of the stuff I've been working. And that piqued my interest. I'll go one more level with you. So at the time, I was working as an investigator using something called forensic statement analysis with bad guys. We get them in custody the day after a murder, give them a piece of paper, one-sided, 24 lines, give them an ink pen. You have as much time as you want, but you can only use one side of the paper. I want you to write down everything you did yesterday on the day of the murder, from the time you got up in the morning to the time you went to bed. Here you go. Can't turn the paper over. Well, heck, now they're going to start writing this stuff out, right? Everything they did. But they only have 24 lines. If they've been up for 12 hours, that means they're going to get 2 lines per hour. Well, sometimes they're going to spend 6 lines describing 10 minutes of activity. Sometimes they'll skip over 4 hours of activity and not even mention it at all. I can usually tell by how they use personal pronouns, how they use tensed verbs, a lot of other things they teach you. I can usually tell if he was trying to deceive me and what time of day he was trying to deceive me about. So I thought, what if I applied this technique to the Gospel of Mark? I wanted to apply it to some gospel, and I couldn't figure out which one to apply it to. But then when I heard that Papias said that Mark's gospel was written underneath Peter in Rome, I thought, okay, here we go. Now we can test a gospel, because this gospel should have Peter's fingerprints in it in a way that no other gospel has, right? After all, Mark allegedly wrote it from Peter. I could use forensic statement analysis to see if Peter is hidden in there. Turns out he's hidden in there. It's little stuff, it's like, you know how stupid Peter is in the Gospels, right? He's always saying something stupid. Read through Mark's Gospel. He says much less stupid stuff in Mark's Gospel. Oh my gosh. He looks like a genius in Mark's Gospel, okay? As a matter of fact, even when he says something stupid in Mark's Gospel, Mark will say, then Peter said this stupid thing, and all the other disciples agreed. I'm not kidding. Check it yourself. I'm thinking, really? There's two Gospels where where Jesus is walking on water, right? Right? And what happens? Peter sees him walking on water. What does he do? Jumps out of the boat. Walks over to Jesus, starts to sink, and he's kind of scolded by Jesus. Oh, you have little faith, in front of all of his buddies in the boat. That doesn't happen in Mark. That happens in Matthew. Mark, he doesn't even get out of the boat. Doesn't mean he's lying. We all have a way of telling our story from our perspective. So I wrote a whole chapter on this in Cold Case, but that was one of the processes I went through and just trying to get a grasp on whether I could trust these documents were really eyewitness accounts. And if you spend look, in the end, I can share my process with you, but it doesn't mean you're going to buy it. You do your own process. What I really hate is when we don't do any process and we just sit entrenched without even looking. Or we just accept what some knucklehead like me or somebody online wrote. Don't trust me. Don't trust Bart. Don't trust any of us. Do the work yourself and see where you land. I'm pretty comfortable with it. I don't ever worry about my own kids. I just know if you do this work, if you do the work on your own, you're going to end up over here.